Hi, I'm Drex, and this is Introduction to Poi Spinning. In this video, we'll cover your first wall plane move, the butterfly. Butterflies happen when we keep the poi spinning in together opposite in wall plane directly in front of us. And we usually try and keep our hands as close together as possible, sometimes even touching. Now, butterflies are a relatively simple move, but they're going to teach us quite a lot about plane control and how to keep our poi in wall plane without them tangling. That'll come in very handy down the road. One way we can begin to learn this trick actually doesn't involve the poi spinning at all. You'll want to wrap up the poi completely in your hands and get your hands to start moving in together opposite directly in front of you in wall plane. As you're doing so, at this point where they're crossing over each other, stop for a second and notice which hand is on top. Because your two hands can't be at the same place at the same time, inevitably one of them is going to be on top and one of them is going to be on bottom. Note which one that is because it's going to become very, very important later on. Continue to work through this, getting in 10 reps so that your body starts to understand what this feels like. Then, let out a single coil of the poi and do the move again, trying to keep your poi as extensions of your full arms. Again, you should find that one arm is on top and one arm is on bottom. As this grows to feel more comfortable, let out the rest of the poi so that they become long, long extensions of your arms. You may find that you have to speed up or slow down your hands slightly in order to make sure that the poi remain long extensions going straight out from your arms. Once you're at a place where you're comfortable with this, begin creating smaller and smaller circles with your hands until you can bring them down to absolutely nothing and just keep your hands bouncing up and down in a very small area while the poi continue to maintain that together opposite timing. Another way you can begin to learn this move is to actually shorten up your poi to no longer than elbow length and try and separate your arms by 2 poi lengths to make sure that they can't possibly collide or tangle with each other. From here, you're going to let the planes of the poi drift slightly out away from you so they look kind of like a V as you're looking down in front of yourself. You're then going to start bringing your hands closer and closer together, inch by inch. If you find a place where they're uncomfortable, go back an inch, hold it steady for 10 beats, and then try and go forward again. Eventually, you will get to a point where your hands can touch, and when this happens, you can let out the full length of the poi, and the work that you've done should translate to the full-size move. Now, it should be said, there are 3 possible things that can go wrong as you're looking to learn this move. Here's how each of them work and how we can go about fixing them. First, it's likely that the poi heads will collide with each other at the top or bottom of this trick. Alternately, the poi tethers might tangle with each other, again at either the top or the bottom of this trick, and become unusable. Finally, and this is a warning specifically for the men in the audience, it is inevitable that at some point a tangle or a collision will involve the kind of injury that we tend to dread. Know that it's coming, be ready to walk it off. Whether it's collisions or tangles, both problems are caused by the same underlying issue, namely, your planes and how they're interacting with each other. But fear not, we have a way that we can fix them. First and foremost, let's go back to this exercise from the beginning of the video. Do you remember which hand was on top? This is where it becomes important. We're going to do a couple exercises with that top hand that we're going to refer to as the lead hand that will clean up your butterflies. First and foremost, begin just spinning that poi in wall plane, and then begin tilting the plane slightly away from you so that the non-native side is farther away from you than the native side is, at a slight diagonal. Bring it back to a wall plane place and go back and forth between the two of them just a little bit to train your body how both feel. Next, from the wall plane place, tilt the top of the plane back towards you while the bottom of the plane is slightly away from you. It's going to feel a little bit wonky, but actually the butter zone for this move is going to be slightly between these 2 orientations, with the top slightly towards you and the non-native side slightly away from you. This will ensure that the 2 poi are never rotating in the same plane at the same time, avoiding collisions and tangles. The good news is, the audience is none the wiser. The butterfly is a beautiful and very visually dynamic move, but with a slight tweak we can add a little bit more body movement into it and create this trick called a thread the needle. The good news is that if you've already learned your butterfly, you've done a lot of the groundwork to learn this trick, so let's put it together. First and foremost, wrap the poi all the way up in your hands once again, and begin performing a butterfly with just your hands. Remember when we started off that there's always the same hand on top. We're going to change that now, alternating between right hand, then left hand on top. Right hand on top, left hand on top. Right hand on top, left hand on top. As you do this, note that you're switching up which hand is closer to you at the very, very top of this movement. Make sure, again, that you have a good 2 inches of clearance between your front hand and your back hand. When this feels comfortable, let out a single coil of the poi, and try doing the same move with the poi acting as extensions of your arms. Bringing down right hand on top, left hand on top, right hand on top, left hand on top. Again, look towards the top of this move and make sure that you have a good 2 inches between the pois. They pass each other at the top. This will ensure that you avoid collisions. Next, let the poi out to full length, again, treating them like they are long extensions of your arms. When this begins to feel comfortable, start drawing the circles into smaller and smaller areas, say from your elbows rather than from your shoulders. And at this point, congratulations, you're doing the thread the needle. If you want to polish this trick a bit, see how small of circles you can make with your hands. Eventually, what you'll find is that you wind up moving your hands straight back and forth, rather than in those circles around each other. If you're running into problems with collisions on this move, here are a couple ways that we can fix it. The first is to check and see where the poi are at the top of the move. You want to have at least 2 inches of clearance between them, and if that's not happening, your hands are where you want to look for the problem. Namely, make sure that the hands have more of a separation between them when the poi are at the top of this pattern. Where the hands go, the poi should follow. Next, you want to make sure that you're making the switch happen, that is, which hand is in front, when the poi are out to the sides rather than when they're top-bottom. I know it's counterintuitive, but this is actually the biggest window of time that you have to get the hands to switch position and not have the path of the poi be involved in it. Use it because it's very helpful. Make sure you're learning this move both forwards and reverse. Believe it or not, the technique for learning the reverse is exactly the same. You just want to focus on which hand is on bottom rather than which hand is on top each time. Both butterflies and thread the needle make a great addition to any poi spinner's arsenal of tricks. Practice them and enjoy them because we're going to be using them a lot more soon. Thanks for watching and enjoy the flow. Peace.